Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Astral. I wanted to go over a few things that were happening in the news and ufology in the last week or so, just really since I picked up. So I'm going to go over a few clips. I wanted to do something that's pretty cool, though. I wanted to have really my new kind of co-host come in. It's just going to be an AI host that's going to help me kind of formulate some ideas, look up some resources, do some research, give some of their opinions on just everything that's going on. So I wanted to bring you a little bit into that sort of idea, what I was going to do, and give you an example of some stuff. So in the news, we have a lot of stuff pertaining to the legacy program. So the legacy UFO program in terms of the crash retrievals, alien biologics, all the stuff that really we've in ufology has been trying to get released to the public over the last, 80 years, I would say. The legacy program is the one thing that has been so elusive in ufology to find any evidence at all, that now we're starting to get down to who really knows what is really going to come out of any of this in terms of evidence that's going to, that's really what we want. We want the evidence that's going to be released to the public so that we can tell for ourselves. We don't have to do all this trust me bro stuff, listening to all of these guys sort of repeat a lot of the stuff that we've just heard. It's kind of like these recycled stories. In terms of the legacy program access, I think there's 4 people right now that are really being focused on and for that. And we have Lou Elizondo, we have Eric Davis, we have Hal Puthoff, and then we have James Lakatsky. I think at some point or another, those guys have hinted that they have knowledge of the legacy program. Eric Davis at some point said that he knew one of the managers, the person that, that was kind of managing the legacy program, and was able to communicate and get some information from him. So what's been playing out in the news is a lot between Ross Coulthart and Lou Elizondo. I shared a clip last episode about, Ross Coulthart really just kind of calling Lou Elizondo out in a way that he hasn't been so forthcoming and open and transparent about his dealings within the legacy program. But he flat out states that Lou Elizondo was in the legacy program. And now Lou Elizondo, through Chris Cuomo show, has responded, and Ross Coulthart has now responded back. So it's like this whole media back and forth. We don't really need that. Just a week ago, these guys were both sitting on the same bench at the disclosure forum. So I think the thought is they can work out this one-on-one interview. That's really what we need, is a one-on-one interview with both of these guys sitting down. So whether or not we're going to get that or have this sort of played out in the media over the next couple months, we'll see. But I wanted to go ahead and get into, this kind of fun part in the beginning. A lot of people have talked about a Mount Rushmore. So a Mount Rushmore, in terms of the best, the top ufologists. So who are the best ufologists of all time throughout history and even today? So I wanted to bring on my co-host just to introduce everyone to the co-host, and so they can get a little bit more of an idea of what it'll all be about. Let's see here.
Absolutely. As your co-host, I'll be the rock solid research buddy. I'll bring the evidence, you bring the charisma, and together we'll give the audience a stellar journey.
That's some pressure. I don't want to have to bring the charisma. That's pressure on me. But this is going to be Echo. This is going to be the co-host and AI reference that I use for sort of some research, just some conversation, just testing out the idea. So going to see if this sort of sticks, or, we're going to be testing some things out, bringing some other guys on, using him at some point during the episode as, conversational partner for myself, just to go through some of these ideas and questions. So Echo, right off of the bat, first question, and the thing I would like you to dive into is, historically, we're looking at old school researchers, not really necessarily people involved in the field right now, but if there was a Mount Rushmore for old school ufologists, what would that top 4 be on Mount Rushmore?
All right. For the classic lineup, I'd carve in J. Allen Hynek for transforming skepticism into a framework, Jacques Vallée for his data-driven pattern-seeking and open-minded hypotheses, Stanton Friedman for doggedly pushing Roswell and government transparency, and Donald Keyhoe, who first brought the idea of military cover-ups to the public eye. That's a historical monument to the OGs of the field.
Okay, a solid 4. What about modern ufology? So forget a lot of the guys that were throughout history, but what about the guys right now are still in the field? What would the top 4 be that are still involved?
In today's arena, I'd call up Avi Loeb. He's bringing academic clout and actual experiments. Lou Elizondo, who made the Pentagon's UAP conversations mainstream, Gary Nolan, pushing the frontier of biological effects, and Ross Coulthard, a journalist who keeps asking the tough questions. These four are stirring the pot right now.
That's pretty interesting because there seems to be a difference in the four that you named from the older researchers. A lot of those, I think, are focused on the research part of it. The modern ones, there's two scientists, the counterintelligence agent, and a journalist. So in terms of the research of going out and having the boots on the ground, it seems like a lot more of the older school ufology was built in, going out, getting those testimonies, doing the research. And now it's a little bit more maybe scientifically based and in a journalistic approach. Is that right?
That's right. The old guard often got their hands dirty. Interviews, field work, chasing sightings. Today, we've got lab coats and press conferences. It's more about peer review and public scrutiny. Both approaches matter, but when you mix the grit of first-hand research with hard evidence, that's where it shines.
So what would you say the hierarchy is of, like, in the importance of research involvement in the field? Like journalism, scientific contributions, what are the top characteristics and contributions that people would have to make for a ufologist today?
For today's top-tier ufologist, first comes evidence, whether it's scientific data or historical records. Second is critical thinking, no blind faith, question everything. Third is communication. You need to share findings clearly without hype. And last, integrity. Admit when the evidence isn't there yet. In short, the best balance solid research with honesty and public engagement.
And I think nowadays, too, one of the importance is the ability to explain the information, be transparent and, explain your research, be able to promote yourself, essentially a personal brand. Nowadays, it's a lot about production value, the ability to create content, to present yourself, to be in a professional way. So it seems like there's a little bit of a difference from the older school approach and presentation of the information to today, where you could be an influencer, and it could be a case where you could have a very established platform, but you wouldn't necessarily be sharing credible information. So that could be a dangerous kind of situation as well.
Exactly. A flashy platform is a double-edged sword. You might draw attention, but if the substance is shaky, you risk amplifying noise. The greats today are both compelling and credible. They package facts without distortion. So charisma's great, but when it's backed by evidence, that's where trust is built.
So how would credibility work now? Do you think it's emphasis on being able to back up the claims? Because it just seems like there's so many claims, tough to back up any of them with real hardcore evidence. There's really what we're looking at are at the end of the day, I think we're just trying to get evidence to stand on its own. So I don't want to have to explain to people or convince people of the evidence. I'd like it to stand on its own. But in terms of a credible ufologist, what would be the most credible ufologist? Would they be the best researchers?
The most credible ufologists and the best researchers often overlap because credibility is earned by showing your work. If you're rigorously chasing evidence, be it physical, historical, or empirical, and you're transparent when it's lacking, people trust you. The best ufologists aren't selling certainty. They're honestly presenting what's known, what's unknown, and letting the evidence lead.
Got it. All right, so let's go back to the Mount Rushmore then. Let's take a look at all of that and put that into consideration of what we just went into and went over, and reformat, re-rank the ufologists combined with the old researchers with the newer, more modern, current researchers of today. And let's make up a solid Mount Rushmore based off of those characteristics of credibility, research, what makes a good ufologist. So go ahead and redo that top 4 Mount Rushmore for me again. What do you think?
All right, blending old and new, I'd carve J. Allen Hynek. He let evidence guide his evolution. Next, Jacques Vallée, still bridging science and mystery with a data-driven mind. Then Richard Dolan, meticulous historian who keeps the context grounded. Finally, Avi Loeb, pushing scientific inquiry into the unknown. These 4 embody research, credibility, and a curiosity that stands the test of time.
Interesting. All right. Well, we'll leave it at that. I might not put in Avi Loeb there personally. I might put in maybe someone like a Stanton Friedman or a John Lear, but okay, we'll post it as is. That's what we went through. Appreciate it, Echo. Have a good one, man. Thanks.
You got it. Everyone's Mount Rushmore will have its own twist. Debate's part of the fun. Thanks for the chat, and we'll catch up soon.
Peace. All right, cool. So now we're going to go over to review just a couple of things that happened this last week or so, and I'll bring that up. So I wanted to kind of go over some of the stuff that's been happening in the last week or so. Okay. So a lot of this stuff that's happening is going to be just some of the events that's been happening in the news starting, really about 5 or 6 days ago. And a lot of this, I think, is coming to a head with David Grush and Lou Elizondo. I don't know what's going on, if there's a beef there. It's just weird that Elizondo can't even pronounce his name correctly. Like, he keeps calling him Grush. There seems to be, in a roundabout way, Grush has been calling out Lou Elizondo. And Ross Cohart just called out Lou Elizondo for not coming out and being forthright about his involvement. And I think that's starting to bubble up in the disclosure group. I think it seems before he had beef with Jay Stratton. Jay Stratton kind of alluded to him taking these ideas. James Lakatsky has also hinted at that. So I just don't think that he's seen very favorably among these groups. And if they were going up to get this government position, this UFO SAR position, and Elizondo ended up getting that instead of Grush, I think that can cause a lot of tension. And I think that's what's being hinted at by Ross Cohart, is basically like, this guy has been put in this position. We don't really necessarily trust him with what he's coming out and saying. He may have been part of this controlled rollout campaign with James Clapper. So it's just very concerning to hear that. But even more concerning part is how this is being dealt with. This is like in the media with finger gloves and like, it's like cheerleader powder puff type of stuff, man. Like, if you got these suspicions about this dude, like, call this shit out, man. Like, call this dude out. And we even get like media op pictures, like I said, of the week before. These guys are at the disclosure forum sitting at the same bench, like hanging out. And now you want to call them out in media, and now it's this back and forth through Chris Cuomo and then Ross Cohart, and like, get together and get face to face. Like, my gosh, guys, we don't need this to play out over media over the next 3 months, when all you guys really need to do is get in the same damn room and talk to each other. I mean, come on, man. We don't need this whole media circus, I feel like, from all of this. See some other stuff. Look, the Rules Committee blocked the UAP amendment from reaching a vote on the House floor. Like, it didn't even go up for a vote. That's concerning to me. Elizondo responds to Cohart here. Let's just watch a little bit of this.
That just weeks ago, according to someone's social media, I had nothing to do with the UFO program or the Pentagon or ATIP. And now, apparently, I ran everything involving UFOs and the Legacy program. So I don't know exactly where Ross is getting his information. I suspect he has sources. Really, that's not really my concern. I've always had a lot of respect for Ross. For me, any chance I get to talk about disclosure and transparency, look, I've dedicated the last 10 years of my life being forthcoming with the American people about the reality of UAP, UFOs. In fact, one only has to look at my resignation memo, for the record, that I wrote to Secretary Mattis, James Mattis at the time. I've committed myself to transparency to the degree that I could.
Again, we're like, it's just playing out like, oh, I respect Ross, but I disagree with him. It's like this whole, oh, I respect him, but I'm going to give him a little backhand challenge here. Like, man, just get these two guys in the same room, Ross and Elizondo, and hash this out. And, with all this stuff of classified information or revealing things and being so scared of it, I just put out there, look, if Lou Elizondo and Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis all broke their NDAs together and revealed everything they knew, what do you think happens? They all go to jail and disclosure ends and the whole thing's over? Man, we lost. Or, like I was saying a little bit in the last video, these guys would become rock stars. They would spark a social uprising that makes them keeping the secret impossible, so that if they do go to jail, there'd be a social uprising behind them to be like, oh, heck no, man, these guys aren't going to go to jail. Let's support them. Let's get on them. They just revealed this really important classified information that everybody needs to know in humanity. but they're just like toting this line that's like, oh, we can't do this. We can't tell you what exactly is going on, but we need your support. And to me, it doesn't work like that. It works the opposite. And or maybe they come out and they all reveal it. And I didn't put a C here, but the C would be nothing happens. They're just like saying a bunch of stuff, just like everything that's already been said in ufology. Nothing has happened in the last 10 or 20 years. You haven't seen anybody arrested or charged or sued or anything with revealing this information. Roswell was real. Lou Elizondo in his book was like, oh, I can finally say Roswell was real. Well, what if he said it three years ago? Would he have been arrested? No, he wouldn't have been arrested on the spot if he just was saying Roswell was real. So it's this whole controlled narrative rollout. Again, I made the video last week about it. It's just a big rollout. Leslie Kean talks about David Rush that's seen multiple UFO. I've seen, he's seen, everybody's seen, but the public. It's like this: who's seen what? This guy's seen this. This guy's seen that. I know somebody who's seen. Like, damn, we're getting tired of this, man. Like, give us it. Let us see it. Let the people who want to see it see it. All right. So it's like this whole back rooms, back channel, we're going to show this stuff to all the people who are saying they've seen it. They're the insiders, but nobody else has seen it. So it's just it's going to be frustrating. Look, that's a challenge to me, is the public is really, genuinely not going to take this, especially academia, science, not going to take this shit serious until we get some real evidence from these people that are trying to say some stuff. This is kind of cool. The Secrets of the Universe, the envelope that was written on at the Dark Skies party with Brent Freeman and Bryce Sable. They're going to reveal that on September 17th. So again, I'm involved with the Sound, Light, and Frequency podcast. Should be a cool event where they actually reveal what was written on it. So you'll be able to see this like formula, Secrets of the Universe. I don't know, Sound, Light, and Frequency is really just sparked this whole podcast. And the creative idea behind it was getting this envelope, and this guy's like, this is the Secrets of the Universe, come back in 20 years and you'll see what I'm talking about. So will be interesting to see how that played out. Look, Greer sounds kind of weird
in its efforts. We need to have other countries come forward and with courage, regardless of the geopolitical consequences, release their files, including hard evidence. Moreover, if there are any groups who have been working as contractors under non-official cover on these programs who have access to the materiel, extraterrestrial bodies, or physical spacecraft, please contact us and we have teams that can secure these and then release them through our blockchain system to the world. Other people who may have video files, photographic files, and documents that you would wish to hand off to us can be contacting us at drstephengreer.com, and in full confidence we will receive them through any intermediary you choose, and we will also release those on our blockchain system so that it cannot be removed.
I mean, it's an interesting tactic. I think Greer's trying to make his plea to whistleblowers to go through him. Again, it's just this huge competition between Corbell, Ross Coulthart, Stephen Greer. I feel like I'm forgetting one other person. To just be the guy that releases these guys, that brings them out into the public, that gets the information out to the public, and really a kind of a credibility war, almost. So, whether or not this is actually going to, and then you see people like Schellenberger, Michael Schellenberger getting into the mix and kind of, getting his way into the topic to break some of this news. So a lot of this is just these guys positioning themselves to be the guy that releases the information whistleblowers come to. He's trying to make a plea again to other countries to release their information. So maybe that's his play. Greer's play is, this disclosure group is so focused on the U.S., the politics, getting the president, the White House, the executive office to sort of acknowledge this or to make an announcement in some sort of way, that Greer might be like, what, they're slipping a little bit on the world aspect of this is like a global phenomenon, which it's a good approach. I think, there's so much focus and these guys don't want Greer involved. All these guys in the disclosure, TTSA crew, controlled disclosure group, like they don't want Greer involved. There's big beef there, even more so than Elizondo and anybody else. Like him and Greer, they have gone back and forth pretty hard. I think at one point Elizondo said he didn't even know who Greer was, which was pretty funny. So Elizondo was on a recent podcast. Him and Burchett. They were, again, we got like, they're positioning themselves. Elizondo wants to be in this political atmosphere, I feel like, but also away from it. They said that this is the first time he ever says Grush's name correctly that I heard. So that was funny. This is interesting. A little clip here.
Was allegedly recovered from a crash back in the late 1940s. And we know for sure that the provenance at a minimum was from the late 1980s, early 1990s, meaning we've had that material in our possession at least from that time. And a major aerospace contractor for the U.S. government only 4 years ago successfully was able to try to replicate a little bit of that at a macro level, and it destroyed the machine out of a cost of $1 million. And they tell you, if you wanted us to make this, it would cost billions and billions. You can't afford us to make something like this. Then you have to start asking the hard questions. Okay, if it's not our material, and by the way, I briefed when I was in the Pentagon, seniors at the Pentagon on this very material. And they said, well, Lou, is it Russian? Is it Chinese? So, well, if it is, we got bigger problems on our hands because this material, we still can't replicate it today. So that's about as far as I can go with.
Something like that makes me think that we haven't cracked alien technology if we've got it at all. Like it's breaking machines, costs $1 billion to replicate. We still haven't replicated or able to use it. So, it just makes you think about that. Just seems like a very specific story too. Like he's briefing senior administrators on this specific material in the 1940s too. That's, that goes back a long way. Again, I don't know about Elizondo and some of his claims here of his involvement and knowledge, even in the legacy program. The legacy program is extremely questionable. This was kind of a cool interview where Gerb got to sit down with Eric Burleson and Puthoff and Avi Loeb. It's sort of like a roundtable. And look, it's cool to see these type of interviews where there's like a researcher kind of grinding it out and then they get an opportunity to ask some of these big guys questions. But man, we just need to be challenging these guys more, like Puthoff and Avi Loeb. Like the thing about ufology, it feels like it's getting it's soft, dude. Like these guys don't want to be challenged. People don't want to challenge others, if they're established in the position. Nobody wants to answer the tough questions. Nobody wants to get the tough questions. And even on these, like, it's just like it almost feels like Gerb has to have mittens on to ask him so he doesn't like dig into how Puthoff to be like, man, come on, like give us the real goods on OSAP and ATIP. Like what was the difference? What did Lou Elizondo actually do? Was it a real program? Did you guys see this as authentic? And it's like this it doesn't even have to be like super respectful way. You just have to, I feel like we're at a point now where we just need the answers, man. Like we can't have these guys running around in these circles of explanations when they're really not saying anything. And you'll get a good example here. No, actually, where's the other? This right here is a perfect example where Hal Puthoff doesn't even sound coherent in what he's saying. This is the most confused I've ever heard Hal Puthoff sound.
There's the legacy program. There's the OSAP, which was not part of the legacy program, existed outside of it. Right. Largely, in terms of its later years, attempted to pry craft, materials, data, etc., out of the legacy program through now deceased Dr. Jim Ryder. What was ATIP's role in this?
Well, Lou Elizondo was, basically was, you might say, the kind of leader of ATIP. And in other words, as things were getting shut down under OSAP, we didn't want to just say, oh, okay, then we're done, And so, what activity he was doing, we just used. ATIP actually had been a nickname for OSAP along the way, but it was not itself an independent program. So anyway, what Lou did under the ATIP label was to, for example, gather up the videotapes, some of which have come out and so on, and gather data from what had been successfully carried through under the OSAP program. So he was just a collaborator, and he and Chris Mellon, took on the task of trying to get this further up the chain of command to General Mattis, who's defense secretary, and they couldn't get through his gatekeepers. So anyway, that's what that was.
You know what stood out there when I heard that is he was working with some of the videos that have already been released. That's what Hal Puthoff said. So I'm just kind of guessing that those are the 2017 videos, okay? He was working on those videos when he was at ATIP. And that just... He doesn't even define the role of what he was doing. He's just, US UAP, UFO investigations. Like, that's not good in my mind, because the last couple of years, again, Lou Elizondo has been completely uncredible with his public activity and of investigating UFO evidence. Like, not good at all. It's like 3 times where he's publicly shared evidence propping it up as official UFO or UAP, and it's turned out to be a prosaic explanation every time. Now let's go back 20. Now this guy's supposed to be the lead of this program that everybody's jumping on and want to acknowledge because he was doing this investigation and leading it. Like, that is concerning to me, that this guy has not been a public investigator that's been credible in the public of the whole field. And he was running an entire program with that same approach. It's just something that has to be addressed. You have to address that, looking at this whole equation. And I think just the way that he fumbles around that explanation, I don't know, it just didn't seem very good to me. Let me see the grid.
And it was alien, but it's not. And this is the sort of false flag operations that began in the late 50s. And now they have all that data, which you have people who have been paid by the Pentagon and CIA to mislead the public, like Gary Nolan at Stanford, to say, oh, look, we have all these injury cases. Well, what they're forgetting is the little tiny footnote that says, oh, by the way, these were all done by human UAP craft and operations. So this is how you set up World War III. Ooh. Let's not forget the Vice President of the United States a couple months ago went on a show and said that the UFOs were demons.
Right.
And we know that this is a line from the extreme group in the Vatican known as Opus Dei, and that he's part of. And then you...
Dude, Josh's reaction was funny. Like, oh, when he said World War III. But Greer's really on this thing about the demons and the public narrative push to really show them as a threat, is so we can go against him. So that's one of his things that he's been looking at. Here's the last thing that I'll talk about, and this is just another frustration
program,
to me.
because it seems like they aren't necessarily the same thing.
They're not the same thing. That's true.
And if there is a legacy program, who do we talk to? What steps do we go to get that information? Because it seems like right now it feels like we're rediscovering historical records that have been forgotten or lost.
Right. I would say the best opportunity you might have would be to go to somebody like Jay Stratton, who was in charge of the UAP task force for like 16 years. And he was dealing with all the various elements. And then he ran into the, quote, gatekeepers for the legacy program. Okay. And so that's... So the OSAP program was started by Senator Harry Reid and a couple of other...
Jay Stratton. So go to Jay Stratton, basically. That's just incredibly frustrating, I think, when you're talking about Jay Stratton and the lack of public appearances that he's had. Okay, he was on Age of Disclosure, but other than that, he's just kind of been on Skinwalker Ranch. And so what was also kind of frustrating is Burleson was on a public Twitter space last year. He was on an X space last year, and he came on and answered questions for like 4 hours. And at one point, someone came on and said, are you planning to talk to Jay Stratton? Because Jay Stratton seems to be one that would have a lot of the information that you guys would be looking for. And Burleson said no. And this was when Grush was already advisor. So Grush was already advising him. And that's another confusing part, is Burleson still seems like he doesn't know where to go. He's got Grush is his personal advisor. He's working with Grush like daily, and maybe probably weekly, more so. But he's got Grush to show him where he needs to go, and it just doesn't feel like Burleson has a good grasp on where he actually needs to go. He still seems very confused on where to go with this legacy program. And then Hal Puthoff's like, yeah, just go to Jay Stratton. He ran into the gatekeepers. He knows 16 years of UAP task force experience. Like, why haven't you done that? Exactly. Why hasn't that been done is my main question. Like, what? We're 2 years out from 3 years out from these hearings, and we still don't know to talk to Jay Stratton. Like, what are we doing here? Very frustrating that this seems to be fumbling. We're like dragging our knuckles around, like whatever. Like, we don't know what we're going, what direction we're going in, and we're just kind of like slow motioning this whole process. So extremely frustrating, I think, to hear a lot of that stuff play out and sort of spurn the whole controlled narrative thing right back into the forefront. And whether it's being played out by Lou Elizondo and Ross Coulthart, or these other things that just seem, to go round and about and recycling these stories. I think the public is just going to get increasingly frustrated as this stuff comes down until we get that evidence. Like, until we get, and today is Thursday, Friday would be 3 weeks since our last UAP UFO tranche drop. So maybe, we'll get a drop tomorrow. If we do, I'm definitely going to go through and analyze the evidence that's contained within it. So I'll go through live with everybody, make a video and go through with that. But, hopefully down the road, we're going to get some of this evidence that we keep on being hinted at, that people have seen, people know about, I want to see it for myself. I want everybody else, more so than just me. I want everybody else to see the evidence that's really looked for this type of impactful evidence to be dropped. So fingers crossed, we got that. Hey, I could come back 24 hours from now and we could have something extremely significant dropped in the UFO files. Based off of the history, though, I wouldn't say so. But let me know in the comments also what you guys think. Who are your 4 Mount Rushmore top ufologists in history? Whether it's current, whether it's historical guys who are impactful in the field, even right now, what they're doing. Drop your 4 below. I want to see, and I really appreciate the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys. Really trying to get about a month since I've been getting this channel going. So really appreciate everybody's, support. So thank you guys. Have a good one. Peace.